Dr. Wallace has been the chairman of the WBC Medical Committee for many, many, many years. He has been a tremendous asset to the sport of boxing and works diligently all year around to make our sport safe. So, Dr. Wallace, welcome.
Thank you very much. To the folks on the podium, I acknowledge you. It has always been my pleasure to be able to speak with you. I am so honored to be with the WBC. Many of you, of course, who go across the board for different sanctionings know that I've spoken at each one of the conventions, but it is only the WBC that really focuses its attention, and part of its whole meaning is the health and safety of boxers. I've been around a long time, ringside physician since 1989, and have seen well over a few thousand fights. I've been glad to be part of what the WBC has been able to do. I have a little story also. I don't know how long it was ago, but Jill Diamond came up to my office and said that she wanted to talk with me and asked me what I think about women's boxing. And I said, well, women can fight, but it's not really a sport at this time. Well, I didn't say at this time, it's not really a sport. And she says, well, do you think that it can be? And I said, well, certainly it can be, but it's going to have to compete with a number of other women's sports, because I had just done a mud wrestling fight like 2 weeks prior to that, and I said that they're going to have to come out of being a small niche to actually become professional. Now, part of the problem, and through the history, and as I saw the people that were here, it's the old saying, you've come a long way. Women's boxing has done some tremendous things against the odds that no one thought that was going to be able to happen. Clearly, 25 years ago or 30 years ago when I was starting, half of the amateur champions were getting walkovers. There was nobody else for them to fight. They may have 1 or 2 fights and that would be it. But the numbers have grown, and I am so happy that it was recently reported that in the 2028 Olympics, boxing will be there. There was a rough part in thinking that it was going to be gone. So I'm glad to be able to speak, and I'm going to give you some of my own, and I'm from the state of California. We've done some 220 bouts from 2014 to 2025. And we've gone through a number of rigorous analytics and trying to figure out how can we make this as safe as possible along the way. The one thing that I do is I take each, as both women's boxing and men's boxing, as 2 separate, not sports, but 2 separate things, but try to compare some things. And one of the things that I have that I'll be able to share is about injuries that happen, the type of injuries that happen, and what I think about the different dangers are. But you can take a look at that and see 97 4-rounds all the way to 37 10-round fights have happened during that period of time. For anyone who thinks that, no, there's no power, there's no punch, there's no true fighting, they haven't watched it. What I really appreciate is I find that the women can be far more technical. I hear them listening to their corner. I see adjustments that happen that I don't see with regards to the men's side. The men's side often have way too much ego and will go on their own, where instruction with regards to female fighters, I see goes a long way. Of those 220 bouts, 90 ended in round 4. Essentially, those bouts just went to the full 4 rounds, and that was it. There was usually based on the cards throughout. And you can see how it breaks down with regards to, even with regards to, if you remember back, there were 37 10-round fights, and 31 of them went the distance. Not a problem with that. I really appreciate that. It tells me a bit with regards to evenly matched. And with there being more competition, matchmakers are able to get 2 fighters that, again, step in evenly and have an opportunity for the best to rise. What I'm looking for is not only the safety, but the fairness with regards to health and safety. That's the lane that I stay in, and I'll share with you what one of the biggest problems that we have now. Again, technical skill, commitment to improving, as Layla Ali was speaking about each time trying to get better. I see that this is happening more on the woman's side than on the men's side. Now, if you look at what the results were, 73% of these 220 bouts ended in a decision. I think that that's great. The question is, if it's a unanimous decision in 126 of these, can we tweak it a little bit better with regards to the matchmaking? We like to have a non-dominant fight, and we know that we can't always have that, but there have been so many of the fights that have been somewhat one-sided, where I've actually had to intervene or have some conversation with the referee along the way, and I'm looking forward to the next generation of competition to be even tougher. The one thing that I don't want to, because I hear a lot of the conversation about being equal, I'm more of being fair along the way. One of the things I don't want the women to do that's starting to creep up is cheating. What do I mean by cheating? This was an example of someone cheating. I go through, and we have approximately 200 plus boxing or mixed martial arts per year in the state of California. And there's a good percentage, maybe up to 5 to 7%, where there's fake medical forms put in. In this particular case, it was revealed that the MRI report was the same report for 4 other fighters. We can't have that. The WBC has been committed to having a minimal medical requirement. A minimal medical requirement. The only sanctioning body that does so. It's a requirement. And I'd like for all the women here, the boxers are there, to understand this requirement is for you and your better health. Back 36 years ago, all that was needed was a blood pressure done. And we've had a tremendous amount of injury that has occurred in the meantime. In 1982, there was a death that occurred on the men's side that changed boxing forever. It was the WBC that stood up and said, we're going to courageously go from 15 rounds down to 12, minimizing the possibility of severe damage happening. The strength that it took then, and I remember the discussion that you and I had when the untimely passing of your dad, and you were questioning whether or not, oh, should I go, should I be for the chair or not? And I said, Don José had the dream, but who's going to carry out the dream? And you took up the mantle, and we've gone way past that. We've been able to have discussions with regards to drugs that are involved. But all in all, it's a matter of making the sport as safe as it can be. By no doubt do I think that this is a safe sport. But as a 22-year Army veteran, where my job was to protect the soldiers for the U.S. Army, I do the same and have the same commitment as I have then. I am going to do whatever's best for that soldier. And this is what we do, and this is why I'm with the WBC. The biggest problem, however, is weight. We're still having a major problem with regards to cutting weight. You were speaking earlier with regards to how would somebody do all of these different things. How is it that you can go and lose 10%, 15%, sometimes even up to 20% of your body weight in a 24-hour period and come back and fight a championship fight? No one on the planet thinks that that's a good idea. But now there's a number of people proclaiming to be doctors and PhDs and whatever who says, I can train you, I can show you how to cut weight best. When you're at this level, when you are a world champion, you need to be serious about your work. You need not be out of shape and certainly way beyond your weight when you're having any fight, but especially at this level. What we're trying to do, and as it was mentioned earlier, a lot of folks go, oh, well, this old champion used to do that. That was the old day, the old way, and we've had more and more injury from things like that. The great news, we haven't had anywhere near, and in fact, I don't know of any of boxing-related women's deaths. Oh, there's been other things, just like the slide I showed before with regards to this woman had been knocked out. There's things that have gone on with regards to training camps. There's people who have been previously injured, but the one-on-one fight that happens, women's boxing has been in the sport, in the dangerous sport, has been as safe as it has been. We're looking to make it safer. And I have a surprise for you. I'm always on the hot seat one way or the other. I think that the men's boxing should take a clue from women's boxing. I don't understand why these 4-rounders or even 6 and maybe even 8 are fighting for 3 minutes. I'd love to see men fight at 2 minutes. It's not very, well, I'm glad to get some claps here, but not very popular, and that's okay. That's one of the good things when you've been in for 30 years, you don't give a damn. So you can say what you want to say on that. But the issue is clearly, you've proved the point. The warriors you are is reflected in the types of fights and the type of champions that we have. But the problem with becoming warriors is that you may not take care of yourself. You've got that war mentality. You'll fight through anything. And oftentimes that means with regards to diet, to drugs, to training, your sleep, you aren't taking care of yourself. There are so many complications, and that's why this summit is so important. Understanding about your finances. All of those things are part of your total mental and physical health. The WBC is dedicated in giving you the information. It's upon you to take it and use it to the best of your ability. So in the state of California, it likes to talk about, and we do, that there's a neuropsych testing that we do. We also are trying to incorporate more. One of the things that I do for the organization is I get at least 10 to 12 different solicitations every week on some new supplement, on some new training technique, on some new water, on some new contraption that's going to be better than anything else. I warn you about using any type of non-tested non-tested tools or training methods that aren't completely legitimate. And how do you know? You've got the WBC University. You've got, as you've heard, the incredible Dr. Goodman earlier talking. I'm always available. There are people who are available who can give you credible, realistic advice, and take that. It is not, believe me, your training partner. Even the greatest, who's not always happy with me, but you don't remember. You've had such a great and wonderful career, but I had to stop a fight. One of my docs had to stop one of your fights.
Your doctor.
I'm the one. Very good. Are there any questions that I can answer with regards to health and safety?
Dr. Wallace, do we have a list of techniques for weight reduction, weight cutting? I have heard of a term called the darkest night, something like that. Some of the fighters might know. It is drinking a lot of water.
Yes. Water loading.
Water loading, but they call it the dark night or something because
It is a dark night.
they go into the bathtub and they just have a horrible day before. But that water is very dangerous, correct?
Extremely dangerous. The issue is you cannot lose that amount of water and then put it back on and in a few hours expect to be your best. Think about what that is. Again, it doesn't have to be a boxer to think that. How could you be at your peak performance? And we have a number of individuals, especially on the male side, that I won't necessarily use as example, but who used to stay at their fighting weight or within 5-10 pounds of that throughout, but blowing up and shrinking down and then expecting to do. In the state of California, if you're 15%, the difference between your weigh-in and what you are at the ring, if it's greater than 15%, fight's canceled. Do you realize that when you go into the hospital, what's the first thing that they usually do? They give you an IV, correct? That's because if you are 5% dehydrated, you are significantly dehydrated, meaning that all types of things, your reaction time, your memory, all of these things are affected. And we're talking about boxers not at 5%, not at 7%, not at 10%, not at 15%, and then going into fight. You put yourself at an incredible risk. You put your brain in an awful situation. Can people get away with it? The answer is yes. That's why it's continued to be done. Is it the best thing to do? By no means. Give your best performance. Have your body properly hydrated. Be in condition. You know when your fight is. It's not like they're calling you for the next day. You have no excuse not to be within the weight that you're supposed to be.
Can we do a paper on options of, what is correct and what is dangerous on weight cutting for the next convention?
We will put something up, but it's so basic and straightforward.
Yeah, but I know fighters, we can talk to trainers. There are techniques that we know about.
Yes.
They bring them and we do the 30-day weigh-in, 14-day weigh-in, 7-day weigh-in, And fighters go through these horrible things, even for those weigh-ins.
Right.
So-
They've learned how to, they actually cut 3 times. And why would you do that to yourself? I mean, sometimes you have to be smarter than the people that are around you. Why would you do that? And we've put barriers up to help you understand where you're supposed to be. And they've used the energy to go around those rather than understand those. But certainly we can put forth something. And lastly, I am so happy to be part of the Medical Advisory Committee, where we pass on information. The WBC has a president and board of governors who make decisions on what can happen, because there's factors beyond just health and safety when you're looking at a match in total. But we're always going to give facts, we'll give truth, and then that can be mixed with whatever else needs to be, because it is a business and we need to run that. By no means do I ever want to think that it's so safe that we don't need to worry about what's happened. I wanted to have, and you'll get it when you look first, all the things that the WBC has done in terms of what is required for the boxer's health, the MRIs on a yearly basis, pregnancy testing, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, where it took none of the other organizations require anything, but the smaller commissions, sometimes it took them 15 years to be able to do what the WBC did like that. This is why I'm with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wallace. Dr. Wallace, your medal. Because you're in the Army, you got a Medal of Honor.